Hey there, welcome back to the DFS Build NBA Edition. I am Kevin, that is Taylor, getting ready to go over some basketball, baby. It's been too long, but we are back. Nice big slate over DraftKings to break it in after the All-Star break. Number one goal is to help you win some cash. Hopefully this free video on YouTube does something to help you do that. If you need more advice, we got Taylor on core plays today, pushing out the 3 or 4 foundational plays he thinks you need to win and compete in DFS at DraftKings tonight. And of course, he's got extra insight in there. If you want to catch that, it's just $5.99 for the month over at dfsbuild.com. But that also includes everything else we do, like my core plays and insight for the UFC event this week, plus MLB when it rolls back around in a couple months here. But the way we do this, we just go team by team, highlighting the top plays that we do like and go over the slate together. And if this helps you out in any way, help us out by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Let's get going, though. Pacers and Wizards, really nice total here, 232.5, 2-point spread in DC. These teams probably don't want to win, so there's that. We have to consider that. But we got no Pascal Siakam. We might have fewer bodies for the Pacers. Obviously, Zubats isn't in there. Benedict Matherin's gone. So Nembhard and Walker both project really, really well. Of the two, I think I'm very much going in with Walker here. I'm interested in Nembhard. I'm just not like super confident he's going to get a full allotment of minutes. Where are you at on the Pacers and those guys in particular?
Yeah, it's a really gross way to start. It's obviously an awesome spot. Like the game has a pretty good spread or pretty good total, tight spread. Indiana is favored. It's just whenever they play Nembhard, it seems like they don't limit him. Of course, that was all before the break. They've punted on full games where they've sat him, but when he's in, usually he's playing like mid-30s minutes. I don't know if that'll continue. Like maybe their motivations are different now after the break, but 7,300, no Siakam. Obviously, Matherin's gone. Someone's got to score for this team, and I feel like he's the one most likely to do it if he plays a full allotment of minutes. The issue is he's going to be pretty owned. So there is some risk here I think the field may not account for. Not a must play at all. He is a very good play in a vacuum. It's tough. I don't think I want to come in over the field. I think at best I would match the field, and then you kind of give yourself some outs where like, yeah, I still have a good amount of him, but I'm not like cramming him into every lineup I have if you're multi-entering. So good with him, but I'm a little bit nervous enough to not want to take a huge stance.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he does have the ability and the role in the matchup here to come out and drop a 50 burger. Like he definitely can do that. And if he does that at ownership, it's going to be a bit of a problem. It's going to be tough to overcome that because he's not like really that expensive for the spot he's in. But he's expensive enough, and the tank thing is there. Like they don't have a major incentive to push him out there. So I think he's a good play in a vacuum, like you said. I'm with you 100%. If you removed the worry there, I think he'd be a core play because, like, what else?
Yeah,
why would you not play him then? You know. But because there is that, I think it's a GPP thing. And if it's a GPP thing, that ownership feels fucking egregious. Like I'm not doing that. Walker is a different story. Walker's only 5'9", and he's not a guy that I feel is a risk of being sat as long as the game stays close, and maybe even if it doesn't. I'm locking in Walker. I'm fine with Nembhard. It's just risky. And then after that, it gets kind of like, no thanks. The only thing I feel good about would be Jay Huff. If Micah Potter's out, they still don't have Zubats. They lost Isaiah Jackson. They don't have any other big men, and it's the Wizards who just bleed points to big men. So, like, I think Huff looks pretty good at 5'2". Might not get very extended. I'd really want him to start, obviously, which he should. Where are you at there? Like, do you like Huff? Is there anybody else you're looking at? Do you need Nesmith, Potter, McConnell to be out? All of those guys are questionable, by the way.
It's easier to get to Huff if obviously Potter's out. I think Potter started the last time they both were in. So, I think RG is projecting Huff to start. He does have power forward, which is useful. A lot of the value centers on this slate are center only. So you kind of run into an issue once again, kind of like the slate we had right before the break of I have too many value centers and not enough spots, but at least Huff, you can play at power forward. I think he's a good play. Obviously the Wizards make this a good spot for everybody. I agree. Walker is hard to get away from. He's pushing 6K though, so it's not like a pure punt by any means. Like he still has to probably go out there for 30 minutes, which he could in this spot. The minutes have been pretty strong for him, even in games that they've had their guys. So I feel good about him with Furphy, obviously out for the season. They're just thinner at forward than they are at guard, especially if guys like McConnell play, which is another reason to be kind of worried about Nembhard a little bit. Yep. But Walker I'm good with. Quentin Jackson is once again popping as a value, 4,100. Yeah, maybe if he starts, I'm okay with that. He is very cheap. He is guard forward. It is an awesome matchup. If Neesmith's out, I'll feel better about QJ. But I think he's okay either way. Neesmith himself is a pretty strong mid-range play. If you're not concerned about the Nembhard minutes, you shouldn't be concerned about the Neesmith minutes. But if you are concerned about the Nembhard minutes, then I would be a little bit concerned about Neesmith too. So some push and pull there. I think they're all strong plays. And I think Potter even at 3.9, if he's in, could play mid-20s, upper 20s minutes. He's just 3.9 still. So like he's still underpriced for the role he could play. Unfortunately, there are a lot of Pacers that look pretty good in this spot.
Unfortunately. So, I mean, like if Neesmith and Potter are out, I think that simplifies it a lot. And then we can feel a little bit more comfortable about a Huff or a QJ. As things stand, I would absolutely need things to line up perfectly for me to fall in with QJ. QJ is only 4.1. So he's really cheap. So there's that. That's good. If he starts and Neesmith and McConnell are out, then I'm in. If either one of those guys are in and he doesn't start, I'm totally out. Potter, I think, is a great play. Potter's a really good play due to price and matchup. Not even sure he really needs to start to get there because there is the concern that if he's there, they might not fully extend Jay Huff, right? So I think they're both good plays. I certainly would not play them together, and I would just kind of try to leverage that ownership. Like right now, Huff is going overlooked and Potter's getting the ownership. If that's where we're at and they're both in, I think Huff is a more compelling play. And then, if it gets flipped somehow, then I'd go the other way. But I'm with you. A lot of good plays here. We need to have it cleared up a little bit and as far as who's going to be available. But the good plays are popping there. They're kind of easy to spot. On the other side, not so much. Like obviously, Indy is a good spot to go against, but nobody's projected for more than like 27 minutes. So they don't really have a true center here. Like Vukovic, kind of. He's like really skinny. Like I don't really see him as a true center for the NBA. But no, Bagley's gone. Sarr's out. So like, I think my interest with Washington immediately hits with Tristan at 4.3. His minutes projection is a little scary. But he looks pretty interesting as far as a kind of a punt on this slate. I always want to play somebody like Keyshawn George, but the minutes limit here is not good. So we could look at Champagny and Bub and Will Riley, Jameer Watkins. I just feel like they just got a ton of dudes and they're going to play them all. So I don't know. I don't feel like I can get anybody beyond Tristan, maybe.
Yeah, the Wizards are tanking really hard. They've been getting destroyed in just about every game lately. And they still have a lot of guys, like even without Sarr and AD and Trae Young and Cam Whitmore, they still have, like you said, 12 guys, 13 guys projecting for minutes.
Right.
I guess you can play Jameer Watkins. I guess you can play Will Riley. I guess you can play Vucevic. But I don't really want to do that. It looks like Riley and Watkins might be somewhat popular, which seems like something that's pretty easy to get away from on this slate. So yeah, like maybe one of them gets there. I certainly would not play Will Riley and Jameer Watkins in the same lineup. I would probably just max one this team as a whole and move along.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Like I said, I'd start with Tristan, assuming he starts. But after that, and even with him, I think you're playing with fire a little bit. It's like it would be a good spot if they were extending their guys, but they're not. Houston and Charlotte, at least we know all these dudes are going to play. Şengün, KD, Amen Thompson, per usual. Those guys look okay. Of the bunch, like I feel like just that projection and price, like KD looks like the best play. But in terms of ceiling, I do think Şengün is the play here. You can talk me into KD if you want to. I think Thompson doesn't really pop enough for me compared to those two guys. I'm not getting there really. It's a game with a low total. Charlotte is kind of good defensively now, so it's not very exciting. If I'm going to do something here, it would be Şengün due to the ceiling.
Yeah, it's hard to get excited about them when they're all in, the main three guys at least. The minutes are going to be strong for KD and Amen in particular, but like you said, Charlotte's not the stream matchup that they used to be. Thompson with KD in generally doesn't have that high a ceiling. KD himself doesn't have that high a ceiling.
Right.
He probably has to score 40 real points to really, really get there for you, which he can do.
Good.
But it looks like he's going to be somewhat popular. I'm not really into that. I think Şengün is the best play here overall per the ownership.
Yep.
9-2 power forward eligibility is very nice to have on him. I'm okay with that. He has a very low floor also, frustratingly. You're kind of just shooting darts with him. I think Tari Eason is okay. I just wish he wasn't 2-guard only, which is kind of odd for him, but that's what DraftKings be doing this season.
I mean, shooting guard is kind of not that good. So
Never
if you're kind of in no man's land, I know, but I mean, up top, you could be like, oh, well, there's KD, there's Spida, it's fine. But like Tari Eason, I feel like is a little bit expensive with everybody there. But when you look at the state of the position on this slate, I'm kind of with you. Like it's an okay spot to land on at 6'3".
It's definitely a roller coaster ride with him.
Yeah.
The range of outcomes is extremely wide, but pretty good play overall, I think.
Any interest in Jabari or Reed Shepherd?
No. Reed Shepherd's a little
right.
too expensive. Jabari also. I'd rather play Tari.
Agreed. On the Hornets side, Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball coming in with a very similar projection, not going to be very owned. They continue to be just priced right at this point. LaMelo was like at the 7.5, 7.8 range for a long time. He's now up to 8.4. You know, based off of his ceiling, you could argue he's still coming in at a discount. I think Miller is now just right. I think Ball is probably about right for who he is this year. And the matchup sucks. So I'm not interested in those guys that much. I think for GPPs, you absolutely can look at them. I would certainly favor LaMelo. Khan is 7-1. That's a little bit expensive for me in this spot. If I did anything with the Hornets, it'd be Ball, or I'd be looking at Grant Williams or Ryan Kalkbrenner because we don't have Diabate and we don't have Miles Bridges. So do I feel good playing a 4K Grant Williams or Kalkbrenner? No, but we know they're going to get minutes. And of the two, it would be Grant, unfortunately. There's other value at forward that I like a lot more than him, but he is in play.
Yeah, without Bridges, there is more usage for guys like Miller and Melo and Knipple. But like you said, they're kind of priced up now. They were all discounted the last time we had this situation, and they were all really good plays. Not really the case anymore. Yep. Houston's also just excellent defensively. It's tough. Like I think Miller's good because small forward's usually just a weak position, and he does have a ceiling. So he's okay. I do think Grant Williams is solid 4K flat. No Diabate, no Bridges, of course. I have a really gross play in this game on this team. He's center only. It's not great, but he's also 3,200. And he got 17 minutes in the last game. You know, bigs are generally more reliable per minute producers. He's 3-2 on a slate with a lot of center value. I don't think people are going to play him either. Like, it's a chase, it's a risk, but for 3-2, I think you can do worse than PJ Hall.
I will let everybody know that is watching this. When Taylor makes these dive calls, they almost always work out. I'm not going to join you on PJ Hall season, but somebody has to play the backup 5. So he just might be locked into 15 to 20 minutes again. Not really the best spot to use him, but he is 3.2K. Moving on here, Nets and Cavs. This game's gross. 17-point spread. Nets have a 106 implied team total. Yay. Day'Ron Sharpe looks awesome. 5'9". His price came out by like $1,000. Not a good matchup. I don't really love that he's on the road against Jared Allen, and now Evan Mobley's back too. So we're looking at foul trouble. We're looking at blowout. We're looking at just not a really good matchup. But he grades out like a god. So fuck it. I mean, just play Day'Ron Sharpe. He looks really good. Certainly you could leverage the ownership here and just not do that. Right now I'm just doing it. I do think there is value at center. Like we got Paul Reed. We have Vukovic. We have somebody else that I'm not remembering right at the moment. No. But we have other things to do here on the slate. And he is pushing 6K. So to play devil's advocate, you absolutely can fade him on this slate. I just don't think I want to. I don't think I will. I do think if you are going to play sharp with the field, pairing him with MPJ and then doing a run back perhaps on the Cavs side is not that crazy. Because if Sharp actually gets there, he probably is going to play 30, 35 minutes in a close game. And what happens if that happens? MPJ is probably getting there. And then somebody on the other side on the other side is getting there. Not that you have to do those things. I just think it's like if Sharp is going to pan out, pretty decent chance those things happen too. I actually don't mind Nolan Traore at 4.6. I think that looks like a pretty good value. Again, not the greatest matchup, but remember, Cleveland is not the defensive stalwart that they were last year. Garland's gone, so their upfront defense is not as imposing. I don't know, man. That's where I'm at. I really like Sharp, and I'm okay with some of the value and MPJ.
Yeah, it's really tough with Sharp. Like I think last time he was like 5K, and it was Indiana. I think they were playing. And it's like, yeah, you play that everywhere because he's Day'Ron Sharp. If he gets 20 minutes, he's a good play. If he gets 30 minutes, he's amazing. Mm-hmm. This is a much different spot. I think it's like a 16.5 point spread. Cleveland's very good now. And they're getting healthier, like you said, with Mobley back, which makes them better defensively in addition to increasing his foul risk. Plus James Harden, also pretty known for drawing fouls.
It's true.
So there are a lot of ways this can go wrong. He's 5'9". Probably not expensive enough for the starting role, but with the matchup and with the spread and with the center eligibility only, there are arguments to fade him for sure.
For sure.
Not the total smash, like every lineup you have has to have Sharp type of play he was last time. Still a very good one though in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. If Brooklyn keeps it close, then he should smash. I don't know if they will. I'm skeptical they will. But in a vacuum, very good play.
He is still cheap enough, though, that if he only plays 3 quarters, he could get there just fine.
Yeah, but he's in that situation. He's also probably not a guy you have to have into ownership.
You're right.
I don't know how owned he will be, though, because it is like everyone else is aware of the spread and the price and the matchup. So, excuse me, I don't think he'll be like 70% owned again. I think he might be more like 40 or 50. That's still pretty significant.
On a not small slate, that's something. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We'll see where that goes by the time lock rolls around. But I think being kind of like Nembhard, like being even with the field, if it's like reasonable, if it's like under 50, I'm like, yeah, I'll play 40% Day'Ron. If he's projected for like 60%, I'm probably still going to come in at like 40 because I do feel like hedging against that's not a bad idea while not fading it entirely.
Well, I mean, also, there's just like the idea of beyond ownership and matchup and spread. Like all that is real, and that you need to consider that for sure. But there's like pure roster building. Like you can punt with maybe not PJ Hall, but you can punt with like 4K guys and save like 1.8K, or just drop a little bit down to like Paul Reed instead, save a little bit of extra money and just maybe get a little bit better of a lineup while also just inherently getting different. So I'm like very much both ways on this at the moment. In terms of just a vacuum play, he looks awesome. In terms of everything else, like actual context, it's a little scary.
Yeah. I agree on Traore being solid. I think Dielman's okay. Porter himself is always appealing. He's kind of pricey and it is a brutal spot. So you really need him to get full minutes. Obviously, I'd be most nervous about paying into Porter given the spread here, but those 4 are all viable. No one else is really on the radar.
100% agreed. All right, Cleveland on the other side, Spida, James Harden, those guys look great. You could certainly argue they are too cheap. I think Spida would be my lean, but I don't think you're really making a wrong call with either of them. Jared Allen 7-1 feels a little bit much, especially with Evan Mobley back. Obviously, it's a good spot against the Nets. I just don't think I'm going to do that. Not going to pay a premium for limited Evan Mobley either. With him back, I'm just not that psyched to do anything else here. Like you could make a case for Sam Merrill at 4.3 because he's small forward and shooting guard eligible. And like we've talked about all year, like what's going to happen? The Nets are going to try to trap up front. They're going to kick it out, kick it in, and guys like Merrill and the bigs are maybe going to have a lot of success because of that. So there is a path for Merrill, to potentially get really hot in this spot. But they're like at full strength. So it's mostly just the two main guards for me.
Yeah, I think Allen's probably too expensive for the role with Mobley back. Mobley's too expensive for the minutes he's probably going to play. I think Harden and Mitchell are fine. I wouldn't be excited to get to them given the spread here. We know Brooklyn is also generally tough against lead ball handling guards. So I think Harden is probably in the worse spot than Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
So I would lean Mitchell between the two, but neither is really a huge priority.
Agreed. Looking like pretty good tourney plays. And like I said, if you're going all in on Sharp, just a consideration in a couple lineups, go get MPJ and maybe pair him with Harden or Spida as a nice little tournament stack. Hawks and Sixers, this might be the game of the night when it's all said and done, especially from a high level. You got Jalen Johnson at 10-4 for the Hawks going up against Philly with no Joel Embiid. Not seeing a lot of resistance there. So Jalen Johnson looks like a really good play. A little bit expensive at this point, but he's on par with the other studs on this slate, and you could very much argue he is the best overall stud. Well, up in that range anyways. Anyways, he looks great. I like him a lot. If I can get to him, I'm going to. You can argue a case for Onyeka and Nah. I just don't think they project well enough and at their prices to get that excited. And I just don't see anything else. Like, Dyson Daniels' prices come down. CJ McCollum is there, but they're kind of at full strength now. So I think it's just JJ for me.
Yeah, I'm never too excited about the Atlanta guards when they're all in. They're all kind of pricey. They all eat into each other. I think Alexander Walker is just naturally the easiest one to get to because he has the best usage, but he's also 7,400. So no discount there. I do think Johnson is pretty likely to go under-owned, even on a slate that doesn't have like a lot of amazing pay-ups other than Maxey. It doesn't look like he'll be that popular. I think he's probably just under-projected. Also, like 49 over there seems pretty light to me.
It seems like Wemby. It seems like Wemby is getting all the attention in that price range. So to me, that makes Jalen just an absolute smash as a pivot from Wemby.
Yeah, and much better matchup for Johnson.
Infinitely.
Than Wemby.
Much better game environment. Like this game is way more likely to go, be 130 to 130 or go to overtime or some bullshit. Like it's just a way better spot. Yeah,
so I like that at the ownership a lot. I'd be over on him at 10-4, but really nobody else. It's, the defensive wings for the Sixers are pretty good even without George.
Yeah, I will say this again, shooting guard is not that amazing. I'd be looking to get my value at shooting guard, but like when I was doing my build before we got on here, I'm kind of like in no man's land at my shooting guard and guard spot at the moment. So you could entertain Nah if Jalen Johnson gets steamed up. If Jalen Johnson is very owned, I would be interested then in targeting Nah and hoping for a blow up game and kind of, leveraging that ownership. But as things stand, man, I mean, it's Jalen, and that's where I'm at. On the other side, I'm just going to eat that Tyrese Maxey chalk. I don't give a shit. Joel Embiid's out. Atlanta's a dream matchup. He is going to play a ton and shoot a ton. No PG-13 as well. So there's just no real reason for Maxey to fail. He's not even 10K. Best projection of the slate. Everything looks good for him. I'm locking him in. You can certainly talk me into Kelly Oubre or VJ Edgecombe. They're fine. I don't feel like I have to play them, but if I get to them, I don't feel bad about it. The interesting thing with the Sixers is going to be who replaces Embiid. Really, Andre Drummond might start, but is he definitely going to get all the minutes? I don't know. You have Trendon Watford, you have Barlow. Like right now, I just have Barlow in because he's the cheapest one, and I know he's still going to get 20 to 25 minutes. But you could certainly convince me into taking Watford or Drummond over him.
Yeah, Bona's also in the mix. Like they have a lot of options to fill those minutes.
Right.
And none of them are great. I think Watford is the one I like the most. He's not really a big, like he's a big, but he plays guard basically. His minutes have been pretty strong even with Embiid in. So I think he's a solid play. I like Edgecombe a lot. I think he's awesome, like an awesome way to fill your shooting guard spot. He and Maxey are just guys who are capable of playing 40 minutes in regulation. So pretty high floor for him generally.
Yeah.
Much higher floor for Maxey. Of course, Maxey's a great play. Not much more to add on that. I like Oubre a lot. 6'2" is a bit steep, but the minutes are very strong. So those three, I think, are really standouts. I'm not as excited to mess with the bigs. I think Drummond, I'd rank probably the center, power forward center options like Watford, Drummond, Barlow, and then Bona. But none of them are really guys I want to play a lot.
I mean, I'm just sticking with the ones who start. If Watford starts or if Barlow starts, that's who I'm considering. And I like Drummond, I just feel like is riskier than those guys. He has kind of a very, one clear path to success, and that's getting a double-double, and that's it. Like Watford is the most versatile big they have. He could come out there and do a lot of damage. So I agree, like in terms of skill set, Watford is the most compelling play there, but they all have some type of path to getting there. So they're all definitely going to be in the conversation. And I also do agree VJ over Oubre. I will say Oubre is kind of interesting as leverage because VJ is getting way more ownership, but VJ projects better. He's probably got a clear path to more minutes, and he's only $300 more. So certainly they both look good and they're going to have usage, but I am team VJ if I have to play one of them. And again, that goes back to the shooting guard conversation too. They're both shooting guard eligible, which is nice. Detroit against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden, 4-point spread, 220 total. So this could be a slower game, bit of a defensive battle. There is no Jalen Duren, so Paul Reed at 5'7", even in a not great matchup against the Knicks down low. He looks like a really good play at 5'7". Looks like a good pivot away from Day'Ron Sharpe, or you can pair them. Cade Cunningham also looks really good at 10-3. It's not a good matchup, but Cade could just let it fly from deep in this one. And just in terms of raw usage, I think we have to consider him. More of a pivot away from a popular Wemby, and he's not owned right now. So I think that's interesting. Having said that, I am looking at Maxey and Jalen as my payups at the moment. So like I'm not really getting to Cade. And as always, I don't have much interest in Tobias or Azur Thompson. Like they're there, they're fine. I just don't see why we would need to play them.
Yeah, you definitely don't. It's really just Cade and Reed. Yeah. I think Cade's fine. Like the matchup against the Knicks is pretty bad for him and for Paul Reed.
Right.
Like the two best ways they defend are in the post and kind of lead ball handlers, and they're worse against spot up shooters. So like Duncan Robinson, but not playing Duncan Robinson on this slate. Probably they just have a very full secondary rotation. So I'm not excited about that. I'm not excited about anyone. I think Reed, it's kind of similar to the Sharpe thing. Like very good per minute guy, starting role, boosted minutes, boosted salary, really bad spot. So I think he's a good play. I didn't wind up getting to him much at all the last time we had this exact similar slate. But obviously he got there in a big way
against the Raptors. I mean, that's not an easy matchup, and he crushed.
No, the Knicks are like literally the worst matchup for a post big, but I do think he's playable at 5'7". Not a conviction play. Very good play though.
No,
Cade's good. Nobody else.
Yep, totally fair. I mean, like Sharpe and Paul Reed, it's really tough because I feel like if they smash and we don't play them, we're gonna be like, well, we got pretty cute there, and we're just too matchup based. Because like really, the only reason you don't play Day'Ron Sharpe and Paul Reed is because the matchups aren't good, right? The setting around them is not ideal. But like per minute, price, projection, like everything there makes them look like really damn good plays. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Right now, I'm more leaning towards getting to them a lot than not. But maybe something else will open up as well. On the Knicks side, you have Cat, you have Brunson. They have OG back, so they are at full strength here. You get Mitrov at 4-2 there to slap Paul Reed's ball away if we do indeed play him. Yeah, I don't know, man. I hate playing the Knicks. I think you can play Cat at 8K flat. Like I think in terms of price and projection, he looks pretty damn good. He's just been kind of ass like all year. Like I don't really want to play him. It's just the salary is demanding that I consider it. It's been Brunson who's been like nuking, but obviously just everybody has a bad matchup against the Pistons. Like nothing really looks great here. I think if I did play anybody, it would be Towns though.
Yeah, 8K is just really cheap for what we're used to with him. And Detroit, while a good defense, they don't have Duren or Stewart. So I don't think they're going to be quite as stingy in the front court. So I'm okay with Towns. I think it's a pretty good buy low, given the matchup against the third string center. I'm okay with Hart just because we always get back to the shooting guard small forward thing. Like 6,800, he has a ceiling. It's a really bad spot, but I think you can play him a little bit. But I think Brunson, Anunoby, Bridges are tougher sells.
Agreed. Jose Alvarado getting minutes, and he's just like, you ever see those highlights of him doing his little sneak attack when he goes and gets steals? 3.7K. He's gonna have minutes, 15, 20 minutes. So it's a punt. It's there. I don't really want to play him, but it's worth mentioning. Toronto and Chicago, 7-point spread favoring the Raptors. Decent total here. Josh Giddey back on the other side. Obviously, I'm not going to have a whole lot of faith in Chicago. And because of that, I'm not really expecting a competitive game. That said, it's a very good matchup. So Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, they all look good. RJ Barrett looks the best in terms of pure value. And then Scotty, like always, is that GPP ceiling play. If you want to play Quickly at 7-2 or Ingram at 8-2, it's okay. And nobody's going to be on those guys. I don't hate it. The one to watch would be Mamu, who is questionable. Pirtle is back, and he's limited. So yeah, actually Murray Boyle's at 5'7". So I don't like anything there, to be honest. It's just like these guys are at full strength. There's nobody really stands out when that happens. So it's Barrett if you want to eat the chalk, Barnes if you want a high upside play in tourneys.
Yeah, it looks like Quickly is kind of flying under the radar. Like he's not cheap. He's always in the 7K range, but he's got an individual ceiling, and Chicago is a really good spot overall. So I'm okay with him. I'm really okay with any of them. Like Barrett's pulling the most ownership, which I don't love, but maybe his minutes limit isn't really a thing anymore after such a long layoff. I'm okay with him. I think it's an awesome spot for Scotty. It's an awesome spot for Brandon Ingram. You just run into the problem of one ball with four guys who want to shoot it at all times. So I think a max 2, since it is a good spot between Ingram, Barnes, Barrett, Quickly, makes sense. Not jamming any of them specifically at a high rate, but I think getting exposure to each of them in like a portfolio makes some sense.
Yeah, I mean, Barrett was playing 30 minutes before the break, so even if we're only getting 30 minutes, 6-3 against the Bulls, I think that's definitely viable. The fact that he's owned gives me cause for pause, but it's just the same as always, man. When all the Raptors are there, you can play them, especially when they're in a really good spot, but do any of them stand out? No. If I had to tell you to play one Raptor, it would be Barnes. Chicago on the other side, Josh Giddey said he's going to play, so he's back at 7-6. I think you can always take a chance on Giddey, even when he's limited at this price. I'm not going to do it. I'd rather him be closer to 30 minutes, but obviously he has a massive ceiling, and he would be needed. Trey Jones is questionable, so he is not a lock to play. As long as he is out and Giddey is limited. Is he?
Yeah.
Last I saw, he was questionable. So it would be okay. Upgraded problem. Okay, well that really makes the waters a bit murky. You got Giddey and Trey. You got Simons. You got Ivy. You got Sexton. It just feels like an utter mess. I think the only guy I'd really touch here is Buzelis, and even that doesn't feel that good.
Yeah, they're all kind of priced up for when Giddey was out. I'm assuming he's going to play after this really long layoff. He's been out.
He said he's
quite
going
a bit
to
before that. So Giddey himself is cheap. I just don't think the minutes are going to be that strong, but guess you can take a shot on that in like a super large field tournament because he's 7'6", and we were once paying like 10K for him, but probably limited. Really crowded backcourt now also with Simons and Jones back and Sexton and Ivy. Just a potentially really ugly situation. So probably max 1, preferably 0.
Yep. All right. Suns and Spurs in San Antonio, 229.5 game total here. Spurs are favored by 7.5 at home. The Suns do not have Dylan Brooks because fighting, and Jalen Green remains limited. Are they missing somebody else that I'm forgetting? I don't think so. Grayson Allen is back. He was questionable. He's in. Okay, so Devin Booker, I think, is kind of interesting at 8-3. You got no Dylan Brooks, who is, for those who are unaware, kind of high usage guy with the Suns. And Jalen Green still isn't going to play more than 20 minutes, most likely. So Devin Booker should have quite a bit of usage in this spot if they want to keep it close. I don't really see a ceiling there because we haven't seen it basically all year. But if there is going to be a spot that demands it, it would be a spot where you need to get points against a better team on the road, and you're missing another high usage guy. So I do think Devin Booker's kind of interesting in GPPs. Not really going to pay 6-6 for Gillespie in this spot. Grayson Allen's way too expensive. Jalen Green's way too expensive. Considering they're missing a key body, you could talk me into Jordan Goodwin. I mean, Mark Williams is a good permanent guy, and he's only 6K. There's that. I don't really trust him against Wemby at all, but is he playable? Maybe. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, the Spurs are kind of a weird matchup because you'd think they'd be like totally shut down for opposing bigs with Wemby, but they really haven't been. So I think Williams is kind of sneaky for a tournament. 6K, like you said, is kind of cheap. Booker's also a bit cheap. I think getting over on him is not the worst idea at 8-3. It is a pretty good spot for Gillespie, especially if Allen is out in addition to Brooks. That's just kind of a lot of usage that's available, a lot of minutes available as well. So again, like not a great spot for any of them except for Mark Williams, but I think you can make a case for Gillespie and Goodwin if Allen is out.
Yeah, my bad. I thought Grayson Allen was changed to probable. He actually was downgraded to questionable. So 100%. If Grayson Allen is out, Gillespie turns into a pretty darn good play at 6-6, and that boosts Devin Booker even more. So, yeah, the ceilings aren't really there, but maybe that changes with two usage guys being out of the lineup. So, yeah, I'm a little bit interested in the Suns, especially if I'm paying for Wemby. If I'm not paying for Wemby, though, I think I kind of want to ignore this game because it does have two pretty good defensive teams, and it could be kind of ugly. That said, Wemby, 10.5K here. Minutes are, sneaking up a tad, 33 in this last game. He's been having some pretty beastly outings. It's not really the best spot, but if you want to play Wemby into probably ownership, I suppose that's fine. De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, kind of the same guy. They're priced appropriately. Everybody just is priced appropriately on the Suns. They're kind of, or the Spurs. They're kind of deep. They have a lot of guys they can turn to. Like in the past, we look at Dylan Harper, but now they have Vassell there. Like Champagny, we were playing for a while, but they just have all these bodies. And Phoenix is a strong defensive team. So it kind of sucks. I think if I'm going to do anything, it would be just paying for Wemby like everybody else. But like I said before, that's just not how I'm approaching the slate tonight.
Yeah, I think I prefer Jalen Johnson for 100 less. Very similar play. And you can argue his ceiling is just as high as Wemby's. At least it has been. I think Wemby's ultimate ceiling is probably higher, but we haven't seen it as frequently given the minutes restrictions on him. I will get to Wemby a good amount just because it's a slate without a ton to pay out for beyond Maxey, Wemby, and Johnson. So I'm okay with him. It is a really bad spot across the board. Like it's really only a favorable matchup for like Champagny, but he's not going to play enough minutes to matter. And he's not that cheap. So Wemby kind of or bust.
Absolutely. All right. Before we wrap it up here, let's refresh this thing to see if we can get an updated look at ownership. Also refresh Twitter, see if we have any new injuries that are popping up. All right. Let's just look at the ownership here. Where do you stop falling in love with these guys in terms of ownership? Because we got QJ pulling crazy ownership. Like that's the first guy to me. Unless he's starting and guys are out, I'm not playing into ownership for QJ. Like obviously the savings are there. There's the Wizards matchup, but Quentin Jackson can definitely fail you even at that low price. I would need to have a perfect situation. Where you at on him, and is there anybody else that's getting a lot of steam here that you immediately don't want to play?
Probably not full fade, just because there's not like a lot of amazing cheap value. So I can see why like Jackson and Watford and Williams and Potter are kind of popular. I do think Hall makes for a really good pivot, like off of the Williams ownership. If Grant Williams is going to be chalk, then PJ Hall at sub 5% ownership makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm with you on QJ, just a very low floor, kind of a flimsy play, unless those other paces are out like we talked about. But we'll probably get some value popping before lock rolls around and things will look a little different.
That's true. Are you fully in on Maxi, or are you looking to get under on the field? I'm fully in personally.
No, I don't see the need to get under. I just think, like I said, the floor is so high. Matchup's really good. No issue with that at all.
Okay, so one last thing. Besides PJ Hall, if you're looking for a way to get leverage or just get very different, because there is a lot of decent chalk on the slate. Like if you want to just go get Maxi and Sharp and Reed, and Walker, like suddenly you have 4 like seemingly pretty good plays, but also pretty owned. Like if you're going to do that, what's the first thing, again, outside of PJ Hall, that you would want to do to feel good about getting a little bit unique?
It's kind of tough because we don't really know all the Indiana news. Like that can change things quite a bit. You can fade Jarris Walker, I think, if he's going to be 60% owned. Like he's $6K. He's not a free square at that price. Same thing with Walker and Reed. Like these guys are going to be somewhat popular. They're really not in great spots. And I don't think that they are so much better than some of the alternatives, especially at center, that you have to play them. I think building around Walker, Sharp, and Maxi makes sense. But of the 3, I think Sharp is probably the most fadeable, just given the spot that the Nets are in.
Yeah, I think one thing that's kind of interesting is like Towns is going to be owned, but he's not going to be as owned as Sharp probably, right? So if you can find that extra $2,000 in funds and go get Cat, who probably has a much clearer path to 45 to 50 fantasy points, that could be a massive leverage point. So that's one thing that I'm going to be interested in doing. But like I said, as it stands, it's going to be tough to not play at least one of Sharp and Paul Reed. All right, that is going to do it for us. Hopefully this helps you out. If it does, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Come join us in Discord, by the way. That is linked in the YouTube channel here. Discord is 100% free. Also, if you want extra help, just visit dfsbuild.com, hit up the premium content access tab on the site, and get access to every piece of content that we push out for just $5.99 a month. Thanks for watching, and good luck.